Okay, great. Hello and welcome to Let's Pod This. I'm Andy Moore. Friends, welcome back. Another week, another Friday night in the big town. We've got a really important conversation today about something that's going to affect every single person who lives, works, drives, shops, does anything in Oklahoma City. And that is the 2025 General Obligation Bond, the GO bond, the GO bond, if you will. That's a $2.7 billion package of investments that's really like the meat and potatoes of city government: streets, sidewalks, parks, libraries, public safety, and much, much more. The election for this, the vote on this, will happen in just a couple of weeks on Tuesday, October 14th. And it's up to Oklahoma City voters. Everyone who lives in Oklahoma City, it's your chance to vote on whether or not you approve this. And to help us break it all down, I'm joined by one of Oklahoma City's newest leaders at City Hall, Ward 7 Councilman Camal Pennington. Camal is an attorney, a community leader, and now a public servant representing Northeast Oklahoma City and parts of downtown. He got elected earlier this year? This year.
April 1st.
So today we'll get to know Camal a little bit more, but mostly we're going to talk about what's in the bond, what it means for Ward 7 and the rest of the city, and we'll go from there. Camal, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you. I'm excited. Very excited to be here.
Always excited to have a member of our city council here in the studio.
So you've had several other city council members here?
I have. I mean, you're new.
Okay, so I didn't have a chance.
Well, not yet. No, this is your first chance, but you're welcome anytime. No, but Councilman Cooper and Hammond have been on the show.
They're both great.
A couple of times. I lived in Ward 2. That's
north of 23rd Street.
Yes, that's right. So I moved less than 1 mile, but I switched city council wards. I also switched state senate districts just in a short move. So you got to learn new people and build new relationships. I love all of them. We have a great city council. Mayor Holt's been on the show several times. So I know that obviously you're one of the newest members of council. So to start, let's get to know you. Tell us a little bit about your background, what drew you to public service, and what you hope to accomplish with your time on council.
Yeah, so I'm born and raised Northeast OKC. I'm very proud of that. Love our city. I actually live in the same neighborhood I grew up in. So my parents, a few of my sisters, we all still live in the neighborhood. My grandma, we all live within a few blocks of each other. So it's really a joy. But I'm a proud Northeast High School Viking. Went on to Oklahoma City University, where I had a Clara Looper scholarship that paid my way to OCU. So feel very fortunate to have been a part of that legacy of Clara Looper. Then I went to law school at the University of Oklahoma College of Law, and knew in the middle of law school that I was not meant to be somebody who was going to practice traditionally. I thought, I can't bill hours. I can't be stuck to a desk. I've got to figure something else out. So after taking the bar, I moved to Washington, D.C. And started
where everybody has a law degree.
Absolutely. No one told me that. I wish somebody had told me that. So the lawyers are a dime a dozen there. But so I started off as an intern, an unpaid intern that worked full time for Congress. They don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
They don't even allow that. They pay them a minimum, and it's
not much.
It's not much, but at least more than I had.
That's right.
But it was a great start. I worked for a great member of Congress, Kathy Castor. She's still there representing Tampa, Florida. Learned a lot about public service. Yeah. I came back and started working for the American Federation of Teachers, where I was their staff attorney, but that was dealing more with contracts and employment issues, and so that was a fun time to fight for teachers. I then went to work for the University of Oklahoma College of Law, where I was director of annual giving for a few years. Then I was director of admissions.
Yeah.
So access to quality education is a passion of mine. And now I serve as executive director of It's My Community Initiative, and we're a nonprofit that's focused on family strengthening in Oklahoma City. We want to create self-sustaining, healthy families for everyone. And so our True Dads program is probably our flagship. It helps dads become better partners, parents, and providers to their families. And so we do just a number of programs that are federal and state funded. And so I just feel fortunate to be a part of making a difference in this community. But what inspired me, so that's part of the question.
Sure.
My mom was a teacher for almost 40 years in Oklahoma City public schools. And I grew up with remembering before the first day of school, teachers started a couple days before students. And I remember her saying, it's year 20 something. And I'm so excited to go to school.
Yeah.
It'd be, it's year 25. I'm so excited to go to school. And she'd have students or their parents knocking on our door because they needed a ride to work. They needed a letter of reference. They needed food. They needed whatever. She was always there to support those students because she just believed that if we're going to live in a better world, it's up to us. Mm-hmm. And so I'm inspired by that service. And so the opportunity to serve the council is just something I feel really grateful for, and want to make sure that every kid, no matter what your income is, no matter what you look like, no matter what part of this community you live in, that you have access to great streets, great housing, great parks, and a great education. Yeah. And so that's really what I hope we can build here together in Ward 7.
Yeah, that's amazing. A couple of weeks ago, I was at a meeting with a bunch of leaders of networks, like national networks generally, and we were talking about impact networks, and there's a book about it. We were all kind of sharing and learning together. And one of the examples in this book, I think it's called Impact Networks. I forget the author, but if you Google it, it's probably the first one. Was about a school who mapped the impact networks of the community, but it was based on teachers, right? So each teacher has their class of 20 or 30 families. And when they just like seeing it mapped out, like drawn little circles and lines, and they realized that, one or two teachers were solely responsible for like connecting with this entire immigrant community in whatever state it was in. But just seeing this like network of school administrators to teachers to the community, and you realize very quickly that teachers are like gatekeepers, not in a bad way, but like they are the entry point. They are the community leader for dozens of families every year, all the time. And so stories about your mom were like, it makes sense. Like that I was picturing this little drawing of people reaching out to your mom saying, hey, you're our point of contact, whether you know it or like it or not. Like, this is how it works. And I think that's an element of education that we too often forget, right? We think about teachers as being, that's a job they do. They go and they teach and they come home. And that's not the end of the story at all.
It's a calling. Mm-hmm. And especially when you think about, she survived the era where pay was really low. Mm-hmm. And so having, luckily married, but had plenty of kids. So, it's not easy to go into that profession. But I think all of it, the thing that what you're saying reminds me of is the fact that no matter what your income level, if you went to school, I want to ask you, who are some of the most influential people of your life? And I promise you, someone's going to name a teacher that they had that inspired them, that helped them, that believed in them. And so there's something powerful about that. I also think that when you look at the fact that there are just fewer places where community comes together, those third spaces are just, there are fewer of them. Fewer of us go to church. Fewer of us join social clubs. Fewer of us. And so the school is one of those last places where people can make that connection of community. And so having a quality teacher in every classroom matters. Now I am biased. My wife is the president of the American Federation of Teachers for Oklahoma City and the state of Oklahoma. So, we talk about teachers a lot and the importance of that, but
that's great. Well, we'll have her on a future episode then. I'd love to hear her side of this story.
Oh, yeah.
Well, let's shift to this big issue that voters are going to decide in the next month. And we mentioned at the top of the show, the 2025 GO bond. For those who may not know, Camal, what's in the GO bond and why is it so important to Oklahoma City?
Well, first, I think it's best to start with explaining how city government is funded in the first place.
Yeah.
So in Oklahoma, which is very unique, so I believe we're the only state in the union that this is true, that our municipalities, our operations are funded by sales taxes. So anytime everyone knows about MAPS. So every time we've wanted to do some other additional special projects, we've had that temporary sales tax for MAPS that's been added. But the way that infrastructure in our city has been paid for has been through property taxes. and that's what the GEO bond is. So we are currently, there is a GEO bond that's in place from 2017, the Better Streets, Safer Cities initiative, and so that's still in place. So before it expires, we're hoping to put in this 2025 GEO bond, so taxes would remain flat. It's the same number. It's 16 mills. It's the same as it's been for decades in Oklahoma City. So this doesn't raise taxes, but it makes really important investments in our infrastructure that without this funding wouldn't be possible.
Yeah, that's an important, I think, a very important place to start. I'm glad you said that. And you also said the thing that I think a lot of voters want to know is, are you going to raise my taxes? And the answer is no. We're going to keep them just where they're at, right?
Absolutely. It's staying flat.
So the bond altogether is $2.7 billion. And it includes like, I think 11 propositions or something.
Yes.
What kinds of projects are included in that?
So number one, the largest amount of funding is for streets. So street resurfacing, street repair, which is so important. But I just want to remind our listeners, we live in a very large city, 620 square miles. There are enough lane miles that are managed by the city of Oklahoma City to go from Oklahoma City to Anchorage, Alaska. It is a huge undertaking. Yeah. So the fact that there's $1 billion in this package for the roads alone is really important.
And this is just city streets. Highways are different responsibility, right?
Yep,
That's
state and federal. Yeah. So these are just the streets and bridges, but it's also important things like drainage issues. Yeah. It includes some of these propositions are for public safety. So we need new fire stations in some places or fire station renovations, new police stations, other city facilities like helping us to ensure that the Family Justice Center, that's really going to be very helpful and transformative to needy families in our community, that gets the support, infrastructure support that it needs. There's also some money in there for economic development. We want jobs to continue to come into our community. And for me in particular in Ward 7, very excited about $50 million for affordable housing initiatives. And so tomorrow, shameless plug, tomorrow Councilman Cooper and Councilwoman Hammond and I are hosting an affordable housing forum at Metro Tech at 6:30. So come out, but we're going to talk about ways that some of those funds, if this bond goes through, could really impact us creating quality neighborhoods for everyone.
Yeah,
so
that's great. I know that we refer to this as the meat and potatoes of city government, and you mentioned streets. I think this is the money that goes to the things that most of us take for granted.
Yes,
right. It's the stuff that pays the bills to keep our city safe and growing and moving about. But it's not the things that are big and flashy. Is there anything else about those projects that you want to add that we didn't already talk about?
Well, I think I'll just say, I love that the meat and potatoes statement, because whenever I'm trying to explain to people the importance of city government, I just want to start with the basics. The city is impacting you every single day. When you got out of bed and you went to the bathroom and flushed your toilet, that was the city of Oklahoma City. Yeah. That was your infrastructure dollars that ensured that you could do that. When you turned on the faucet to wash your face and brush your teeth, Oklahoma City. You got in your car and you hit the road to go to work, the city of Oklahoma City is maintaining your roads. And you got to an intersection. Who's maintaining the intersections?
Right.
Oklahoma City, it's every bit of your daily life is being touched by these dollars that we're putting into the GEO bond. And so I would just, again, strongly encourage people to support it, because without it, we already have a tight budget. We had a 4.5% budget cut this year to city services, which is being felt when my neighbors complained to me about the park across the street from my house. That took a little bit longer to get cut a few times. And I said, well, we did have a budget cut, everybody. Yeah. So there's less staffing to go around. So it matters.
Yeah.
Having this support really matters.
Yeah, I think that's the thing is, we really do take so much of infrastructure for granted, right? We can set it and forget it. Someone else is taking care of it until it breaks.
Yes.
And then realize. Then we're mad. I live near-ish 23rd and May, 23rd and Penn, and we've had a string of, over this summer, of pipe issues, like water issues underneath Penn, and the city was always quick to come out. And often it means they come out, they dig a hole, they stop the leak, which ensures water pressure for the neighborhoods. But then, someone else has got to come back and fix it. It's not like one guy in a truck that has everything he needs to dig a 20-foot hole and also patch the hole the next day. And so people were complaining about traffic having to get rerouted. And I was like, yeah, but we didn't lose water at all. And like losing water for one day is a
Oh my
real
God,
pain.
it's terrible.
Yeah.
You want to go stay in a hotel.
Right.
Like we have to go stay in a hotel if there's not hot water, you know?
Right. To say nothing about the businesses and restaurants around there that needed to stay operational. Like there's a lot of stuff. And the fact that they could patch what is aging infrastructure. Like the reason we're having these problems is not because someone patched it wrong. It's because, hey man, the pipes underneath the street were put there decades ago and they're not going to last forever. Things have to be replaced. Maintenance has to be done. And that takes time and money. And that's where the GEO bond comes in, right? Is to ensure that the city is able to fix those, period, certainly in a timely manner.
Absolutely. And I think that residents I just want to emphasize that our budget for our sales taxes, it's tight. You know, it really is difficult for those people who say, well, if I don't support the GEO bond, then, you know, they'll figure it out. No, it will be very difficult. Yeah. But we have made, through the GEO bond, though, we've had a tremendous impact. If you have grown up in Oklahoma City like I have and seen the decades of growth that we've experienced, there's finally sidewalks in my neighborhood. Mm-hmm. That's been because of the support that we've given to the GEO bond. You know, I think about all the resurfacing that's happened along 23rd Street and many parts of it that just would not have happened without the GEO bond. We're also ensuring that some of our other amenities that we have in this city are continuing to get the maintenance that they need. So think about River Sport, also in Ward 7.
Is it really? I didn't realize your ward went that far south. But
we have so many things in Ward 7. Yeah. Both arenas, so the Paycom and the new one.
Yeah.
We have River Sport.
Yeah.
We have Devon Park. So softball Hall of Fame. So both Olympic venues that will be in Oklahoma City are in Ward 7.
Yeah.
So very proud of that. But some of the support in the GEO bond is going to ensure that we can maintain those facilities and that they're going to be world class, not just for the Olympics, but for us to use and for the life of them. It also includes some money for a multi-purpose stadium for Lower Bricktown, which will be another exciting addition of potentially having soccer and other events being able to be in our city. So we want to continue to be a big league city. Not just for these cool projects, but also for creating great places to live. And that's what the GEO bond does, both.
Yeah, that's great. So you get the boring maintenance stuff that no one cares about, but you also get some exciting developments that shows progress is still happening.
Absolutely.
You mentioned earlier $50 million in economic development for Ward 7.
Well,
is that right? Or is that total?
It's $50 million for affordable housing.
Okay, that's right.
So then
there's,
I think it's 100 ish million for some economic development incentives as well.
So I think what I read for Ward 7 in particular, out of this, huge amount of money for the bond overall, but Ward 7 has like $379 million of projects included in your ward.
Yes.
And you mentioned the multi-use stadium, some other things. What else do you think are the most significant ones for your constituents there?
Well, so there's a few things. One, the expansion of the Ralph Ellison Library is huge. Ralph Ellison Library is just, it's iconic in Northeast Oklahoma City. It's my childhood library too, and so many others. But so many people in our community don't have quality access to the internet. The opportunity for there to be safe places for kids to go in the summer is provided there. We want to create better readers in the next generation, and so making sure that library can serve more people in a quality way matters. There are funds to support the streetscape resurfacing of Northeast 23rd Street, which, Andy, if you go drive under I-235 headed east from that side of Oklahoma City, and it feels like you've gone into a completely different world, like you're living in a completely different city, and we don't want that to be the case. We want Northeast Oklahoma City to thrive and for it to be seamless when you're driving through and seeing the development that's happening on 23rd Street. So this resurfacing funds are really important. There are several $1 million to help finish the Deep Fork Trail, and I get a lot of calls. You'd be shocked how many people call me.
That's like the new bike and multi-use trail that goes all around the city, right?
And so completing that is important. That last portion over on Kelly is going to be another important place where we want to try to fix that so we can complete the loop. And so that's part of it. And then there's also $10 million in support for the Clara Looper Civil Rights Center. And just so that the public knows, this is such an iconic and important investment because it's one of the ways that Oklahoma City has contributed to the United States becoming a better place. Claire Luper's sit-in movement, it started sit-ins for everyone across the nation. Before Greensboro did it, they got it from Oklahoma City. And so this, making sure that history is known and showcased to the world when we'll soon host the Olympics in a high-quality facility really matters. And so I think that investment is important. I don't want my neighbors. So the Ward 7 is a big ward.
Yeah.
I have everything from there are farms to Bricktown to suburban areas. This bond definitely includes all of our neighbors. So there are major arterial streets that are getting some improvements that need it. I know that there's, for example, Wellington Park in the northern part of my ward that borders Edmond. We're redoing Bryant Avenue. That is a consistent area of complaint. Bryant and Memorial have been an issue. So there are things like that. There's several other major arterials in the greater far northeast Oklahoma City, Spencer area, where we're fixing roads that are just in really bad shape. Westminster, Anderson, Hiawassee. Those are places that basically feel like they're the other side. They may as well be Arkansas, as far away from central Oklahoma City as they are, but they're still part of our city. And so it's just really good to see that this bond really is making sure that all parts of the ward are getting some attention and some love.
It's so funny. Even as you're talking, I just drove at Bryant Memorial yesterday because I was taking my kids to their grandparents' house, and so it's like a part of the town that I don't go to often, but it affects people I love, right?
Exactly.
My daughter goes to the school she goes to is in your ward, and so I'm thinking about my path of like where I drive and how it will affect me when I'm driving on these roads. And like what segments are in need of attention to make sure that I reach out to the right person to make sure it's on someone's list of like, hey, here's some areas that need attention.
That need some work, yeah.
And Oklahoma City we are a car-based town, right? Like everyone drives everywhere. And so even if it's, no matter where you are, you're going to feel the effects of this kind of vote, right? Like it's going to any street you're on. You may not think it's in your neighborhood, but it's in your backyard some way.
And then the complaints will come because they're tired of the construction style.
Right.
Because that blocks traffic and slows things down when we start building stuff. So,
as long as we don't tear out the sidewalks on Broadway here on Automobile Alley again.
Yes. So annoying, so brutal.
This is the third time we've done it.
But they look great, though.
They do look good, and it has gotten more functional every time, right?
Yes.
Now, I know, some voters might be skeptical of big bond packages, and we've already discussed how this is not going to add any new taxes. But can you tell us a little bit about what accountability measures are in place to ensure that these funds are like spent wisely and that the funds go to the projects that are being promised?
Well, one, I think it's important to realize that our city is really well managed, especially financially. And so we maintain the AAA bond rating. We are we've received national awards regularly for how well managed our finances are as a city. And so I think that's important to remember. And then the city council provides that oversight over how we're spending this money, but it's going to core infrastructure. The projects are specifically listed for which roads, which sidewalks, where it's going to be. And so we'll be providing that direct oversight. And our city staff is outstanding and able to assist us with that as well. But trust me, the pressure's on because as soon as people see their road, I can promise you I'm going to be getting phone calls about when the construction's going to start. So the accountability has been what has also made our residents have faith in Oklahoma City. That's why we can have 4 different maps projects, 4 different iterations of maps because of that belief that we'll be honest and transparent about the way we act. And so we take that obligation seriously.
Sure. So the actual voting on this, it's 11 different propositions, which means there will be like effectively 11 items on the ballot to vote. You have to vote yes on all of them for the whole bond to go through. It's kind of broken up. How do you think voters should think about making their decision about these propositions? What if someone's like, well, I like some of these and not others? How does that affect the whole?
That's a great question. So I've had 2 different events for neighbors, and at one event, a neighbor who I deeply respect and I understood this perspective shared, well, if there's not a library in our immediate community, then you don't need to vote yes for the library proposition. If there's not a new fire station in our neighborhood, then why would I vote for that one? And there's not a new park. I'm not going to vote for it. And I said, wait a second. Just remember that Without these funds, you're actually making the pot smaller for us to be able to serve all those other interests that you have. So we're very creative in trying to use the funding we have to have the maximum impact for creating a high quality of life for the people in Oklahoma City. So if your park may not be listed as one of the projects this time, but was MAPS 4, did MAPS 4 include some parts of your park that got improved? Having a new police station in one area alleviates makes more officers available in another area, which may end up impacting you. So it's important to realize we live in one whole city. And the more that we ensure that we have resources to service the greatest need, the more it helps us all.
Yeah.
And so it's still, again, you have to appeal to our sense of the Oklahoma standard, again, of caring for our neighbor in order to, as you're voting. So I'd encourage people to just remember, we're here if we grow the pie, it's better for all of us to be able to eat.
Yeah. I have a tangible example from my own experiences. In my old neighborhood, several of us neighbors were talking about the lack of sidewalks and especially bicycle access around to get to our neighborhood and to get out into the rest of the more bike ready parts of town.
Yeah.
And so this was during the pandemic when we were all out walking and biking a lot, trying to get outside. And so we set up a Zoom call with Councilman Cooper, who was my city council member at the time, and some of his staff and some other folks from the Bike Walk OKC plan and for the current the Better Streets, Safer Streets, to say hey, what is the plan? I haven't really paid attention. Are we on the plan somewhere? Are we even listed? If not, is that an option? How do we think ahead? And we said we want to get on someone's radar for the next bond, which is the one we're talking about today. And for a real kind of narrow strip, right on, specifically it was Villa between 23rd and 30th.
Okay.
But kind of by Shepherd Mall.
Yeah.
And that was, 5 years ago. And then it wasn't part of the plan. We were just outside that phase. But as time went along, some funds were freed up from one project that allowed not for a whole big one, but for a small one. And so it all kind of came together because we had the conversations and discussed what was needed and kind of brought it people's attention. So it was at least next in line or somewhere that they said, hey, you know what? We've got a little extra money in our pocket that we think we could use here to fix this. And so they were able to come in and build in some bike infrastructure and some sidewalks to make it more handicap accessible, more bike accessible. And those things make it just accessible to everybody. It didn't fix everything we wanted, but it was a good reminder of if we didn't speak up, no one would know.
Absolutely.
And it would not go, we can't just post online or curse the heavens and hope that someone builds us a sidewalk. But it was because we had the bond in place, because we had those relationships in place and those conversations that we were able to see the fruits of our labor, which was, even as a guy who works in civic engagement, still affirming to be oh, hey, it really does work when you show up. So,
well, and it's important to remember there are unallocated funds that are in here too. So if there are overages and costs that we don't anticipate, or in that instance, when a project comes in at less than what the estimated cost was, so that allows us to be able to have flexibility to get to the projects that people want. So I would encourage anyone, if you don't see your particular street, your sidewalk, your whatever, bike lane, go ahead and still report that to your council person. Go ahead and still report that to the Action Center, because we're still accumulating those recommendations that we can continue to make progress.
Yeah, that's great. If this bond passes, what do you think is the first thing that residents will notice? Because it doesn't, and I guess, does it take effect next year then?
Yeah, it would start next year.
So what do you think is the first thing people would notice?
You're probably
construction.
Construction. Yeah. You're probably going to start seeing roads that the worst roads that are listed are probably going to be the starting point, because we know the damage that it does to tires and other things. It's not good. So we really want to make sure that the roads get started on. We also, because of the fact that we're an Olympic host, some of these amenities I know are going to be things that have to be worked on now, because we'll be hosting events soon here, and so you won't be able to do construction at the same time as hosting people. So some of those projects, I think you'll see some work there. So it'll be good.
Yeah. That's, I think about if we were having company over to our house, whatever mom told us to clean and how to get ready for company, just imagine that company is every country in the world, right? Olympics are a very big deal for our city. So that's super exciting. Camal, if listeners want to get more information, and I hope they do, where can they go to get more information?
Well, you can go to vision.okc.gov, or if you just Google OKC Bond 25, I did it right before I came in,
Nice.
so can confirm it does work. And that's where you can find, it's got a great map. So when you go there, you can look up your specific address and see what projects are nearby. You can find out about every single project there. So I would strongly encourage you to go look and just explore the map and find out more about what all the bond is going to do.
Awesome. And on the website, all the projects are like broken down into categories like arts and culture, community, environment, innovation, parks, planning, transportation. And then it's even, I guess I probably incorrectly assumed that this would be like a starter website that was going to be building information. No, this is a trove of information, including closed projects that have already been completed, right? And
Yes.
so you can also see like, hey, where we've been and where we're going, which I think is really helpful. And for me, at least, a good reminder of like all the stuff that's happening in this big town that we can't all possibly know about. So like you said earlier, even if it's not in my neck of the woods or doesn't affect me directly, it is really exciting for me to know that stuff is being built, that is being maintained or upgraded in other parts of Oklahoma City, because like we rise together as a town. Great. Well, some key dates I want to hit before we go. The voter registration deadline for this election has already passed. So I assume if you're listening to our show, listeners, you're already registered to vote. If not, we should have a side conversation about why not. If you want to vote absentee, you have until the 29th. You have 1 week to request your absentee ballot. That's an easy, convenient way to vote, but don't forget it has to be returned basically by Election Day. It takes a stamp, or you can drop it off in person. It has to be notarized. If you need a notary, I'm a notary. Hit me up. I'm happy to meet you somewhere. The Election Day itself is October 14th. That is a Tuesday. You can vote at your regular voting location. You can also, I assume there's early voting for this, probably the
I would assume so.
Week
on
before?
That, yeah, that probably, is it the
weekend, but the Friday
Thursday,
and
Friday?
Saturday,
Yeah. Friday, yeah.
beforehand. Listeners, I'm sorry. You can go to the election board website and find that information, elections.ok.gov. But I assume, turnout in these is usually lower than we would like.
Yes.
It's lower than we would like for every election. But this kind of stuff where it's not like the presidential election, turnout's usually pretty low. And that means, I see this as a threat, right? That when turnout is low, it is easier for people to mount an insurgent campaign against something because it doesn't take that many people, right? And so that's why it's important for us to be aware of this and to show up to vote. Councilman Pennington, thank you for being here today.
I enjoyed it.
Please come back some other time.
I will.
Let us know what's happening in Ward 7, and let us know what's happening with your nonprofit sometime as well. We'd love to talk more about that.
That'd be great.
Friends, thanks for being here. Listeners, as always, don't forget, mark your calendars for October 14th for this election. As we say every week, decisions are made by those who show up. Here's a concrete opportunity for you to show up. Before that, also don't forget, next week on Thursday, October 2nd, we're hosting our film screening of Majority Rules, which is a documentary about Alaska's electoral reform campaign for open primaries and ranked choice voting. I just watched it again the other day. It's so good. Please join us, Rodeo Cinema, at 7 p.m. You can get details on our website, letsfixthis.org/events. All right, with that, we'll see you next week.